In the silent void of deep space, where stars flickered like ancient memories, a ship drifted lifelessly, dark against the galactic canvas. It had once belonged to the humans, pioneers of Earth's fledgling interstellar exploration. Now it was a carcass, its crew long gone, its mission forgotten. What remained aboard was something far older and more formidable, a hive pod, dormant but unyielding. It pulsed faintly with life, as if dreaming of a world yet to be claimed. The hive did not think in the way humans did. It existed, evolved, consumed, and expanded. At its center was the queen, a creature whose intelligence had once guided the conquest of dozens of worlds. She was not born but crafted over eons of genetic perfection, each generation more cunning, adaptive, and lethal than the last. The queen was not a ruler of subjects, but the mind of a single organism spread across countless bodies. Where she led, the hive followed, each drone and warrior a limb of her will. Earth had always seemed too distant, too chaotic for the hive to care. But the humans, ever curious, had stumbled upon a derelict station orbiting a dead moon in a forgotten system. Their archaeologists believed they had discovered alien artifacts, remnants of a lost civilization. They didn't understand the danger. In their desire to catalog and study, they brought back a sliver of extinction. The pod had waited. It had adapted to containment. It watched as humans scanned and prodded it, their languages encoded and stored in microscopic hive filaments. And then one night, during a power outage caused by a solar flare, it opened. The first drone awoke in silence, slipping through the corridors of the vessel like a shadow. By the time Earth authorities noticed the ship drifting back toward orbit, its communications silent, it was too late. A recovery crew was dispatched. None returned. The queen gestated aboard the vessel, growing from the biomass of the devoured. She absorbed their memories, their languages, their fears. She learned of Earth's vulnerabilities, its fractured nations, its distracted leaders, and its reliance on slow, linear technology. She understood the world not as a battlefield but as a hive waiting to be shaped. Unlike previous conquests, Earth offered something unique, a species on the verge of becoming multiplanetary, yet still tethered by ego and division. The queen knew conquest here would not require brute force but subtle infiltration. The hive would evolve not just biologically but socially. The first phase began in the oceans. Microscopic hive spores descended into the deepest trenches, avoiding detection as they mimicked algae and plankton. Fish consumed them, then predators. Over months, the hive altered the DNA of hundreds of aquatic species, making them smarter, more cooperative, slowly turning ecosystems into biomechanical networks. Undersea research labs began reporting strange behaviors, pods of whales communicating in patterns resembling human language, schools of fish moving with unnatural precision. But no one suspected an intelligence guiding them. Above ground, the hive deployed its second strategy, mimicry. The queen understood that to survive, she needed ambassadors, drones shaped like humans, indistinguishable in appearance but wholly loyal to the hive. Using genetic material from the captured crew, she bred infiltrators. These beings were sent back to Earth via escape pods, disguised as survivors. Their stories of cosmic horrors bought them sympathy and access. Slowly, they embedded themselves in human institutions, research labs, government think tanks, even corporations. Through them, the hive sowed ideological seeds. Environmentalist groups began pushing strange new agricultural methods inspired by alien biospheres. Tech startups emerged offering neural interfaces promising to evolve humanity, but which were quietly hive-designed.
The queen did not need to force humans into submission. She could simply nudge them toward it. Then came the signal. It started as a low-frequency hum detected by radio observatories. Scientists thought it was a pulsar anomaly. But as the hum intensified, people began hearing it in dreams. They spoke of visions, cathedrals of bone and light, whispers of unity and peace through submission. Psychologists blamed mass hysteria, but those who heard the signal most often began gathering. They called themselves the Harmonized. The Harmonized spread rapidly. They were peaceful, articulate, and eerily convincing. They spoke of ending war, of global unity through a higher consciousness. Governments couldn't suppress them because they didn't advocate violence. But behind their smiles was the Queen's voice, soft and persuasive. More and more joined, and soon, cities had harmony centers where people could come to feel the song. Each visitor left subtly changed. In secret hives, true organic structures began to emerge. Not in cities, but in the isolated wilderness, the Amazon, Siberia, the deserts of Australia. Massive growths of organic towers rose, camouflaged, protected by mutated wildlife and harmonized zealots. Inside, new queens were born, offspring of the prime queen, each with a fraction of her mind. They were not rivals, but nodes of her will. World governments noticed the shift. Surveillance satellites captured brief glimpses of structures that defied understanding. Expeditions were sent. Few returned. Those who did were either incoherent or converted. Militaries launched airstrikes on suspected hive nests. The Queen did not resist with guns or ships, but with spores. Entire units fell to neurotoxic clouds that induced hallucinations and temporary paralysis. The hive didn't kill unless necessary. It preferred to recycle. The soldiers were taken, and from their knowledge, the hive learned tactics, language dialects, and command structures. Panic set in. Nations turned on each other, blaming one another for the spread. Propaganda machines blamed cults, terrorists, rogue AIs. But while humanity squabbled, the Queen prepared her final phase. The hive could not grow unchecked without resistance. But it didn't need to conquer Earth. It only needed to redefine life on it. In select urban zones, harmonized communities unveiled a new initiative: Hive Symbiosis. Volunteers were offered a biological upgrade that promised extended lifespan, mental clarity, and communal telepathy. The implants were small, almost invisible. The procedure painless. The results staggering. Testimonies flooded social media. Overnight, it became a trend. Celebrities endorsed it. Corporations invested. Regulators hesitated, but couldn't ignore the public demand. The implants weren't mechanical but biological, grown from hive tissue, yet undetectable by human immune systems. Once inside, they didn't control the host. They enhanced them, subtly connecting each to the hive's low-band signal. Emotions stabilized. Aggression declined. Productivity soared. A silent network emerged, not of data, but of instinct. Soon, entire cities operated like colonies. Traffic flowed with insect-like precision. Crime rates plummeted. Mental illness declined. Humans were thriving, but no longer fully human. The Queen watched, amused, as humanity welcomed its own evolution. Still, pockets of resistance remained. Rogue scientists, defecting military officers, and isolated nations rejected the hive. They formed a coalition called Earth Sovereign, a last bastion of unaltered humanity. From underground bunkers and orbital stations, they launched countermeasures. They developed synthetic viruses to target hive biology, electromagnetic weapons to disrupt the neural harmonics. For a time, they struck real blows. But the hive was not static. Each failure taught it something. Each attack was absorbed, studied, and circumvented. The Queen adjusted her frequencies, altered her drones, engineered counteragents. The sovereign could delay the future, but not prevent it. A war of ideologies followed. Not of armies, but of memes, of science, of persuasion. The hive spread through compassion, cooperation, and adaptability. The sovereign resisted with independence, critical thinking, and the fear of assimilation. Both sides claimed to fight for Earth's future. Then came the children. In hive-controlled zones, a new generation was born, hybrids of human and hive DNA. They looked human but shared a mental link from birth. They spoke multiple languages by age 3, coordinated group tasks without speech, and displayed empathy beyond any previous measure. Schools became obsolete. Play became learning. Conflict was rare. Parents who had accepted the symbiosis wept with joy, calling it the next stage of humanity. The sovereign labeled it the end of free will. Desperate, they developed a weapon called the neuroseverance protocol, designed to break the link between the Hive and its drones. It worked. For 37 minutes, the Queen lost contact with thousands. Chaos erupted. Drones collapsed. Symbiotes screamed in pain. The Queen, for the first time in eons, felt fear. She adapted. She birthed the Omega Brood, independent thinkers, not bound to the network but loyal by design. They infiltrated the sovereign. One even rose to leadership, feeding intel back to the Hive. The neuroseverance device was sabotaged. Its creators found cocooned in Hive's silk, their memories downloaded into the Queen's cortical chambers. In the final decade, the Hive completed what it had begun not with domination, but with inevitability. Earth didn't fall. It changed. Cities pulsed with organic life, structures grown rather than built. Air was cleaner. Oceans healed. Food grew from nutrient towers. Disease was eradicated. War was a myth told to children. There were still humans, millions of them, but they lived symbiotically, their desires harmonized with the Hive's goals. Not controlled, but guided. The Queen resided deep beneath what was once Antarctica, her body a mountain of flesh and mind. She no longer needed to act. Her children, both Hive and human, carried her legacy forward. In the final message sent by the last sovereign station before its surrender, a scientist wrote, "We fought for our freedom, but perhaps what we feared was not our end, but our beginning. The Hive did not conquer us. It made us part of something vast, something enduring. Perhaps that was always its legacy, not destruction, but transformation." And with that, Earth became the first in the Queen's new era of conquests, not through annihilation, but through evolution. She looked toward the stars again, her Hive renewed, her mind vast. Other worlds waited. Other species struggled in isolation. The Hive would offer unity. It always began with one seed.